All right. Thank you, everyone, for coming out. I am Lyle Burns, co-founder of the Noise Complaints Group. We help artists cut through the noise by helping them develop their brands, create marketing strategies, and helping them guide them with career strategies. Just so you know, I am a late game scratch for moderating. The original moderator got stuck in Seattle in the snowstorm. So if you see me checking my phone, I'm just getting notes and questions for the panel that we have today. All right. So today our panel is Music Business Stories. We often talk about how the music industry is becoming more democratized, meaning with the internet and tools and services, it's easier for artists to bring their ideas to life and distribute them and build businesses. But that requires a business mindset mixed with creativity. Since there's so many paths, there's not one just set to follow. A lot of artists need help. So the industry needs small businesses and entrepreneurs to help contribute to building that music economy with resources and services. Today we have a panel of different entrepreneurs who work with and service musicians in different ways. So we're going to break this into two parts. First, we're going to pick their brains about the businesses they've built. And then second, we're going to talk about why and how artists should be entrepreneurs themselves. So first, we have Justin here. Justin is a real estate consultant. He recently wrote a book called Rental Secrets, How to Rent for Less. So Justin knows the struggle many artists have of splitting their time and focus between their survival job and their love of music. So he's going to give you some tips on how you can cut down on how much you're paying for rent so that you can dedicate more savings and time to your music. And then we have Ashley. Ashley created Women Crush Music, and she has a background in PR and marketing. She knows the importance of community, and Women Crush Music has put on over 100 events in the last year, and is in 16 different cities in North America, and has a team of 30 dedicated volunteers. And last we have Fred. Fred is the founder of Prizefighter Records. He owns the label. He also has a background in management, booking, and media. So we have a good mix of people here to really give you a lot of knowledge. So just to get started, starting with you, Justin, how'd you get started in real estate consulting, and what are you hoping to share with artists?
Okay. So I actually fell into real estate after I left school. Graduated into the dot-com bubble of '02. So I had to revamp my plan, and real estate became my plan. So I spent a number of years doing property management, residential property development, and that's why I got started in real estate. But when I kind of re-examined my career and I kind of took a look at the information that was out there, it was all for landlords, how to invest in real estate, how to own property and all of that. But there really wasn't anything out there for renters. And what I'm bringing here today is a lot of musicians have their survival job and they are renting. So how do they actually take that survival job money and stretch it further so we can get out there and do more music, so we can have more gigs, so we can get to that next gig, and ultimately put more music out there into the world.
Great, thank you. Ashley, can you tell us more about Women Crush Music and the work you guys are doing?
So Women Crush kind of started by accident. It really did. So I'm from New York, and in 2015 I moved to Portland, Oregon, and there is so much talent in Portland, but not quite enough industry to support it. And I didn't really know anyone in the music scene there, and I was going to open mics, and then they kept shutting them down, and I was like, okay, how am I going to find my own community here? So I started it by, there was this venue that was looking for a residency like once a month, and I was like, you know what, I've always liked curating shows, supporting other women, so let me try this thing out, booking all-female bills once a month in this little 30-person lounge. Long story short, now 2018 was our first full year in operation with 30 volunteers across the country, and our team's just growing. We're at 16 cities in North America. That number is just going on the up and up. And we put on showcases, workshops, networking events for all rising women artists. And I was really just looking for a place to make friends, and now I have friends all over the place. And a lot like Balanced Breakfast, right? We're just all about community and supporting each other, and that is obviously very important.
Great, thank you. And Fred, as mentioned, you have a background in media management, and now you started a label. Can you tell us more about, one, that process of starting a label, and why you felt it was necessary to start a label?
Sure. So I started a label in 2015. I kind of did it that was kind of my basically goal after going to college, and kind of my degree is in arts, entertainment, media management. So I kind of had that plan for a while since high school, and kind of decided that it was finally, after moving out here, I kind of had a couple artists that I really believed in, and kind of was able to felt like I was able to support them in some way, and had a little bit of money to kind of do that with. So basically, kind of got into that with the kind of goal of putting out records, marketing, doing kind of the stuff that some of the bands that I was saying didn't really want to do, or didn't have the background to do so or the connections. So I kind of started doing that. Worked with a couple different bands. I manage 2 now and work with a wide variety of artists. I also run Sourcat Soundlabs is a new venture. So I do a bunch of different stuff, both media and that kind of stuff. But I started out in Chicago. I did corporate booking and kind of booked some shows and stuff like that too. So I've kind of done kind of the gamut, if you can, in the music industry to try and help out artists. It's kind of what I really want to do. I'm not very good at music myself, but have enough skills to kind of help around the other things that are necessary.
Cool, perfect, thank you. And before we start diving too deep, I want to get a gauge of who is in the room. So if you're an artist, can you raise your hand? All right, good amount of artists. Managers, all right. Audio technicians, all right, cool. And then people who have a business that supports artists, whether it's a service or a tech company or a product. All right, cool. We have a good mix of people then. So first, I want to pass it to Ashley. Ashley, I want to talk to you about community building, and what's been the process for building a community, and how have you made it sustainable and replicated it in other cities?
That's a bit of a loaded question. However, I will answer as best as I can. I am a firm believer that in-person interaction is still super important. However, in this case, the internet is a wonderful thing. So I've actually met all of my chapter leaders via Facebook groups, and we have Facebook groups in for every city that we have a chapter in, and then we also just recently launched the Woman Crush Music Collective, which is more of an educational group. So we have prompts, and we give worksheets and stuff like that, and assignments. It's like a free educational tool, and social media is a wonderful thing in this case. However, people message me all the time on Facebook, how can I play a showcase? Or, hey, how can I get booked for this thing? And I'm like, well, your chapter leaders really want to see you and meet you and talk to you in person. And so just because we have these Facebook groups and whatever else, that doesn't mean that you should not go out and meet your community in person. And I think just keeping both of those things in mind, that they go hand in hand, that they shouldn't be substituted for the other, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. And when launching in those other cities, did you really give the initiative to whoever became the chapter leader? They expressed interest in Women Crush, and then you said, if you want to launch in your city, go ahead? Or did you have more of a structured approach to spreading the word?
Kind of a mix of both. So since 2018 was our first full year in action with all these other volunteers and not just me running around with the chicken like a chicken without a head, trying to do it all on my own, we, after the first few chapters launched and we kind of had a structure, we kind of give all of these tools to our chapter leaders, here's what's working in New York, here's what's working in Denver, here's what's working here. But it's impossible for me to think that I can run every city the same, because every city has different needs and every artist has different needs in these cities. So I'm from New York and I live back in New York now, but just trying to run the New York chapter like the Portland chapter was not going to work at all. And so just kind of keeping that in mind when talking to the chapter leaders and trusting them enough to, use the tools that we give them, but also kind of have the freedom to do whatever they want with those tools is super important.
Perfect. And then, just a general question for anyone who wants to jump in on the panel. One, why should artists start thinking of themselves more as entrepreneurs now more than ever? Or should they?
I mean, they should. I mean, you are in business, whether you want to be or not necessarily. I mean, you're creating art, but kind of the way the music, and it's an industry just like any other. I think in kind of realizing that it's some commercial, not necessarily viability, but like realizing that if you treat it like a business, you can actually grow it. You don't have to necessarily think of it. And it doesn't have to be bad. Like that can be fun, or at least finding someone else that can help you with that part if you don't find it fun. But I think like those are all kinds of things that like thinking about it as that is like a really important thing, because you're dealing with money, and a lot of the venues do treat it as a job. You get 1099s, you get all kinds of stuff that are actual business things that you're gonna have to deal with. And like if you want to make money at it and keep doing it full time, you kind of have to treat it that way too. There's licensing deals. There's all kinds of stuff that you can make money doing it. And the way you look at that and the way those opportunities can kind of unfold, if you think about it as a business and like we're able to go after these different revenue sources or different ways to use your music in other ways, you get to do cool opportunities and work with larger brands, or like even cool stuff like like different fun like skating opportunities or other things that like you can collaborate with and have your music featured in car commercials or whatever. Like those are cool things, but you have to treat it like a business. They want to see that you're actually thinking about these things, and you have to have a price and stuff like that.
Right. Yep.
I'd actually think about it more basically. I mean, all of you are in sales. If you have a survival job, you're selling your time to whoever you're working for, and it's probably not your passion. So your passion is your music. So if you want to spend more time on your music, treat it like a business. It'll start generating income, and then you can start winding down the survival job and start moving toward doing music more full time.
Yeah, perfect. And that is a good segue into the next question, Justin. What tips do you have for being able to help people transition from their survival jobs into doing music full time, as from the real estate perspective?
Okay. So definitely from the real estate perspective, it's all about like reducing that monthly rent check that has to go out. And really the best way to start doing that is to actually talk to your landlord and start negotiating with them. One of the sources of power that people have is if you're living in an apartment and you move out, that apartment's gonna be vacant for a week at least, if not more. And every week that goes by that it's empty, they lose money. And not only do they lose money, they can't ever get it back. It's gone forever. So when they come to you with that renewal notice and they're like, well, we're gonna bump your rent $300 a month. Okay, well then like you can actually use that knowledge to respond to them and say, well, how about we do $150 or $1? And then that $200 that you would have been paying the rent, now you can put it towards something else instead of spending it on rent. So, and another little interesting hack is any apartment building in California that has 16 units or more has to have somebody on site who manages it. That person who lives on site gets massively reduced rent. In some cases, it's even free. It basically boils down to a part-time job where you're helping the landlord take care of the property. So having free rent in that case, if you're able to set that up, now the strategy doesn't work for everybody, but if it's something that you could do on the side, then free rent frees up a lot of money in your budget to actually spend on gigs, to produce records, to get studio time for whatever it is you're trying to work on. So that's another good hack.
Cool, great, thank you. So yeah, as you guys are employing these hacks and getting yourself set up to do music full time, if an artist decided to do everything on their own without a label, what should they have in place immediately to help make themselves successful? And this is open for any of you.
I would say that part of the reason why you're here at this event today is because you kind of realize that you don't necessarily have to do all of this alone. There are people here who have resources who will share them with you just because you have a relationship with them. Just because you shared a beer with them out in the lobby, they may have information that you need to help do what you need to do. So be out here in the community, socializing, and letting people know what you're doing so you can create social capital. And in many cases, that can be just as good as having the money.
I agree. I think that, once you've made that decision, like, I want to be a DIY artist, I don't want to seek a label, I think they're crazy, ask for help, and kind of like have a vision of what you want, and then just go with it. Or if you don't know what you want, like what kind of artist you want to be, or if you want to release singles or EPs or whatever it is that you want to do, music videos, like, talk to people about it. Don't be afraid to ask for help. That's something that took me a long time to kind of get over. But collaboration is like everything. People share resources all the time. Like he said, you don't have to have money to do all these things. You just need to be building relationships, and that's what's really going to push you forward. And also know it's a two-way street, right? Definitely remember that. Don't just expect people to give you things.
I would say, how many of you are artists that are in a band, I guess, with multiple members? I can't see anyone, so I don't know why I'm asking this to raise hands or something. But like, that's the thing, like, assign jobs to everybody. Like, if one of you's booking, one of you does social media, like, divide and conquer, like, is the easiest way to do it. If you're doing it solo, it's really hard. Like, I would definitely recommend finding friends even. Like, I don't know, buy them dinner and have them go, like, and go out with them to a show and, like, street team and pass out flyers or your CD or whatever. Like, you're not gonna, it's not everything is gonna, like, happen immediately. You need to find people that can help you and, like, figure out other ways if you don't have money to fund that. Whether that's buying them dinner or cooking them dinner or, putting on their favorite movie. Whatever you can do to make it happen, it's kind of like just figure out other ways that are non-monetary. Like, maybe, you trade, someone wants to do videography work. Well, maybe you give them a song, or, like, let them use your song in, like, a promo video for their stuff or something like that. Or they have to do a reel, so maybe they put it to your song. Or, maybe you have a friend that does photography, but he also really likes other things, like, or does, like, certain kinds of photography. There's tons of different ways that, and, like, kind of different things that, you can find out that, or maybe your day job, maybe, like, they need a video for Facebook. Maybe you help them out and give them, like, ask them to use your song or something like that. Like, if you're working at a day job or a tech company or anything else like that, or even, Starbucks or whatever. Like, I mean, I've done a lot of weird jobs, and, like, you can find different ways to have them help you out. Like, I worked at Starbucks one time, and I had them give free coffee for events. For, like, I would just shout out, like, our store location and stuff like that. Like, so we had free coffee for, like, artists and things like that. There's other things that you can, like, totally, people are down to do, and they have sponsorship budgets that they want to spend because it's tax deductible. So, like, find ways to get that stuff.
Someone once offered to cook me dinner in exchange for PR consulting, and I was very happy to do that for them. So keep that in mind as well, guys.
Yeah, that's perfect. So as we mentioned, it's a two-way street. So taking another perspective, as a service provider for artists, what have been ways that you've connected and shown artists, like, your value so that they work with you in the future?
I think this is where the community aspect comes into play. So when I started Woman Crush in Portland, so when I first started it, I didn't know kind of what direction to go with it in. Like, now, we're a nonprofit, but when I first started, I was kind of running it as, like, a promotional, like, showcase, and also, like, providing PR services for artists. And because the showcases got so well known in the local community, people kind of started to frame me as, like, this music industry, like, powerhouse person who knew everything, and which, by the way, I don't know everything. I'm not saying that I do. But I do know a good deal about PR and marketing just because that's, like, my background. And so, like, word of mouth really was everything in the community. You start working with one artist, and then they tell their friend, and then they tell their other friend, or they just see, like, online, Portland's big and there's a lot of talent, but you kind of end up working in, like, this circle of people who all know each other and are playing the same gigs. And, like, I think just kind of getting yourself out there and being present and communicating with them, like, not trying to sell them on anything at first, just really just talking to them and getting to know them is very important. And I think, not just, like, as a business person who has services to sell to artists, but, like, artists, just talking to other artists, like, hey, like, when's your next show? Can I come support you? And then maybe they'll come to your show and support you. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think when I first moved out here, and even in Chicago, like I went to shows before I like probably at least like I was going to like maybe 3 to 4, if not one every night, to like get actually into the music industry. Like it's who you know. Like this industry is like tiny, like really tiny, surprisingly, and like those connections, it's like real like people, interpersonal. Like real. That's how you get to find people that are all over the place, and like they can really help you out, or and find other people to play gigs. Like if you got to book a gig in Denver, it's great. Facebook's great for reaching out to all kinds of people for that stuff too, and other things. But like sometimes if like here, like there's people from Denver and other places, New York, and stuff like that. So like if I needed to make a connection, like meeting somebody in person is the most powerful thing. Like it still trumps. Like I get people sending me messages all the time, but like meeting you in person and like getting to like actually know you. I mean, both the bands that I manage, I've met them many months before, and went to probably like every one of their shows beforehand. I'm their biggest fan probably, and that's the reason that I do it. It's because I love it. But like that kind of thing is like how you find people that will do that though, or want to do that, is by playing shows or meeting other people in the industry, and kind of that's how I get most of the things done, is people that I've met. And we've, I'll go buy them dinner, we'll get coffee. We'll, not expecting anything from them necessarily from that, but like we stay friendly. We want to interact because they might need something, I might be able to provide them an artist or a connection that they need too, and things like that. And I think it's like what you can provide value for other people as well, like, because that's kind of like how you do it, is you got to be able to provide someone with value. And I think that's kind of.
Yeah, so we kind of live in this world where we feel like everything has to happen instantly. But when you're talking about building relationships with people, whether they be fans or clients or whatever, it takes time. You may have a relationship with somebody for 2, 3, 4, 6 months, maybe even a year before they actually spend some money on something that you're offering, and don't value that relationship any less than the person who's like, yeah, I saw that tweet, let me buy something, because you never know where that relationship will lead to. That person who takes a year to get to know you, they may put you on to the best gig that you've had thus far. You never know. So treat each of these people with value, and also focus on the fact that they're all individuals. They're talking to you for different reasons. And whatever those reasons are, find out what they are, because then you can actually provide them the value that they're looking for in that relationship.
This also is good to keep in mind when you're writing emails to people trying to get their attention. I get a lot of emails from artists, and an email that starts off with, hey, check out my music, link here, does not go up well against, hi, Ashley, how are you doing? Hope things are well with Woman Crush. I really liked the show that you put on the other night. I just released a song. Will you please listen to it? I will always pick that one first.
Yeah, and that starts to touch on my next question, which is, besides your network and besides just an artist's talent, what kind of things can they do to make themselves desirable to work with as an industry, as from the perspective of an industry professional, whether it's they're trying to attract a manager, attract a label, or get brand partnerships, or whatever it is they're trying to do. Outside of their talent, like what makes them attractive to work with?
Strong brand.
Okay.
And if you don't know what that is exactly, hire somebody to help you figure it out.
You can come talk to me.
I mean, I know that when I'm getting artist submissions, I always look for their EPK. And if they don't have one, I'm kind of just like, well, I shouldn't be, not that I'm like the biggest deal in the world or anything, but like, we're all busy people, and I shouldn't be clicking around 8 million times to find your music on your site and where you've recently played.
Right, exactly.
I think it's also just like being the best representation of yourself. Like you have a uniqueness that makes you and your band that particular thing. I don't think you should try and replicate what other people are doing to like the highest extent, because like just be yourselves. I think like especially with an EPK and other things like that, like there's a lot of things that you can do to make it uniquely you. Like, and I think like being true to that and kind of that makes it easier for you as an artist, because it's a really hard gig. It's not a lot of money most of the time starting out. Not a lot of easy nights on touring in a van is not fun usually. I mean, people enjoy it to some degree, but sometimes, sleeping in a van and in a tent every once in a while or whatever, not always all the fun. But I think like there's tons of things that like just being true to yourself, like filling out your EPK, like all those kinds of things, and even on social media, other stuff. Like sadly, those are kind of necessary to be a part of, is those different things, and like finding one you don't need to be in everyone, but like find one that works for you guys. Like if it's Twitter, if it's Facebook, if it's Instagram, if it just SoundCloud, I don't know. Whatever you find that's most comfortable for you to communicate with other people. I think those are the ways that like you'll find it works easiest for you as well, and make connections through that. Like do that, meet people in person. I don't know.
Yeah, those are really great comments, and I would just add like attitude and professionalism. Like people are booking you for a gig, like they're depending on you to actually show up and do what you said you were going to do, because they've got people there. And if you don't show, then they've got another issue that they've got to deal with. So just kind of follow through on what the commitments that you've made, and kind of build a reputation for doing that. And then present yourself kind of in a professional manner when you're talking to booking agents, when you're talking to people who are scheduling venues. And that will go a long way to helping you deal with those issues.
Just makes you easier to work with too. It's really nice when it's like an easy, like the band shows up on time and you're like, nope, we got it. Or they're not demanding, I had a band demand 2,000 cookies and milk for a show. They were a really large band, and they can request whatever they want.
Yeah. Or only the red.
But it was a show with Green Day. It was but it was like they could request what they wanted. Like I'm not going to argue with that. I made it happen. But like, if you're playing at a tiny room for 60 people, demanding milk and cookies for everyone might not be the most logical request at that time.
Yeah, so it sounds like, one, professionalism, being easy to work with, and making it easy for those industry professionals to know who you are and what value you'll deliver to help them out. So one thing I think to help artists get into that business mindset that I coach them on is thinking of themselves as a media company. Are there other types of companies or business models that artists could look at and pull from when figuring out how to operate like a business? And I can give you an example if you guys want some time to think. So when I think of like an artist acting like a media company, I think of like an Action Bronson. So Action Bronson, obviously, if you've listened to his music, he started out as a chef. So he cooks, then in his music he talks about smoking weed and just his general lifestyle. So then when he first came out, I was looking up videos of him on YouTube, and first I saw some music videos, but then I saw videos of him in the kitchen with a friend, and he was just showing you how to cook stuff, how to make recipes. And from there it spun, then he got his own show, Fuck That's Delicious, where he was traveling and eating. It fit with his brand. It allowed him to do more stuff. Then he got the talk show, the Action Bronson Show, where it was music and cooking with guests. So he was incorporating all the things in his brand so he could be more creative, and it made sense. And he took a media company perspective where music's one product, and I can put out other creative products that align with my brand. So are there companies that artists should pull from, whether, I think tech companies do this really well and artists could apply this, or I think consulting companies do this well, or marketing companies do this well, and artists should try that and apply that to help them get in that business mindset?
Media companies are a really good example. And just find other things that you're passionate about. Like if you really like making T-shirts, like one of the bands I work with, they make really dope T-shirts, and they sell T-shirts all the time. But they basically, they've kind of joked about this, but it's like, they're a T-shirt company first and a music, or like a band second sometimes. And like that's kind of the thing though. Like they can sell T-shirts at their show for $20 each. Like that's not bad. Like you're making them, especially if you can print them yourself, you can make them for like super dirt cheap, like $5, like $2 to $5. So it's like things like find out things you're passionate about. If you like cooking, as Action Bronson does, like cooking shows are really awesome. And people, like a lot of people don't know how to cook. Like I watch, that's how I learned how to cook pretty much, is watching Food Network and stuff like that back in the day. So it's like, but I watch like other shows like that, like, and it's just fun to see other people and like think about it of like going on other shows, and like I don't know if any of you watch like Hot Ones or any of the other stuff, like their interviews, like, but like those are like fun things that you could do that are not necessarily, if you like skateboarding, you like doing anything else, like just find other ways that you can incorporate other interests and like your music and other things like that together. Like we're more than just like, I mean, I like music, but I also like movies, I like other things, just as any other human does. And I think like the more you can combine, the more creative freedom you give yourself than just being in the music industry or just in one industry. And think about it, kind of like you can do other things, like and really relate your art back to that, or make it to where you can make connections that in other industries or stuff like that, that could be really cool to do.
Yeah, I really like the media company comparison, actually. But it just kind of made me think about this one artist I know in Portland. Her name is Courtney Now. So I feel like a lot of artists, when they're setting up their live shows, they think, oh, well, I can't do this because the stage isn't big enough, or I don't have money to have fireworks at my show. Like, but like the truth is you can find other ways to like make your live shows like very unique to you and your brand. So she actually makes all of her own outfits, and she does like costume changes between a few of her songs, and she has like her band, like her full band set up, like play, just like kind of like jam out on stage with her backup dancers while she does these costume changes. And it really just like makes the show an experience. And she's not a big artist by any means. Like she's still playing like rooms like this size with no stage, and she just makes it work. And so I think just kind of knowing that like your brand is possible even though you don't have a big label supporting you, like knowing that and being confident about that and finding ways to make it work for you, like will really take you far and set you apart from other artists.
I also like the media company example, because all of you sitting in this room, you're more interesting than you probably think you are. I mean, people want to know what you're doing, things that you're doing, and it may not seem interesting to you because you're you every day, but other people aren't you every day. So they want to see what it is like to be an artist, what it is like to be a struggling up-and-coming artist. Like, what does that look like? I mean, honestly, there should be reality shows about this, seriously. And there are other, as other speakers kind of alluded to, there are other products you can add to just the music. I mean, you can use that music for commercials or voiceovers or however you can get it out there. There are people looking for that. It's just a matter of using the community and network to find them.
I think also documenting. A lot of artists like tend to not want to show the journey, and like that's kind of the unique thing about it is each of your journeys are different, and that's kind of that storytelling that you can do with that and kind of what you're doing. Like, I mean, if you have a day job, you could post about going to work. Like, people understand that. If you live in SF, you probably have another job, and if you're able to do that without another job, like, that's even more amazing. Like being able to post about your day and like other things like that. I think like just documenting like band practice and being in the band and on tour and like that life that most people don't get to see. Like then they want to see that behind the scenes. They want to connect with you on more than on a personal level, because a lot of people like that human connection, and the way you can provide that is through that documentation. Go live on Facebook. Like even if it's just like you guys are like, if you have a flat tire, I had a friend post about their flat tire and they Facebook Live the entire thing, and they're like band and like promotion about that. Like that helped them. Like at least like I was like, oh man, that really sucks for them, and like how can we help? But like also just like how like that makes them real. Like that's a real experience that they had on tour. Like they had a flat tire. But they can connect their fans that way. I mean, everybody else has probably had a flat tire too. So it creates human connection moments, which it's hard to do online with. And it's not all about your persona. Like everyone has their own kind of thing. But I don't think being precious about that either is necessarily a big thing. I think people kind of understand that there's going to be imperfection and there's going to be other things, and not just going to be like this perfect artist thing. Like that the art will have imperfection to some degree.
Yeah, I think Fred and Justin both hit it, that people are on social media because they want insight into your life, and so you can basically create your own reality show by using Facebook Live, by showing the process and showing the journey. And any of you, if you haven't checked this book out, it's called Show Your Work by Austin Kleon, and it's all about self-promotion just through showing the work that you've done. So it's taking what you do in your day-to-day and using that to market and promote yourself and let people know who you are and what you're all about. Yeah, so we have about 10 minutes left. So I will open it up to questions from anyone in the room, and then the last minute or two, I'll give you all time to tell us what's next for you and plug where people can find you. But yeah, Jeremy.
You guys had mentioned EPK being sent to you at one point. I was curious to know, just because a lot of people in here make EPKs, what is it that, like a specific highlight or something that you look for?
Okay, I'll repeat it for anyone who didn't hear in the back. We mentioned EPKs and that they're important. What is a highlight that makes an EPK stand out when you're looking at them?
High quality live video.
I would say the same thing. It's a lot of artists have, they'll get music videos, which are really cool. I love seeing those too. I think it's nice to see people like doing other things that are creative. But like high quality live footage of a concert, or even if it's something that you filmed and did other things with, that's really kind of important in these days and age. We need to a lot of people want to see you live, and I want to know what like a band is like live, because like that's great if you're great in the studio, and like there's tons of stuff you can do with that. But like if you're kind of like don't practice and kind of have a crummy live show or something like that, it's like people aren't going to want to go to the concert as much. And I think that's kind of important to be able to show, especially bookers and people like that, that you are going to be a cool live band. Like even if there's not that many people in the crowd, it's great to see that those people are moving and they're like enjoying it. Even if you're a singer or songwriter, that they're listening intently. Like that kind of stuff like is great. And sometimes it doesn't necessarily need to be high quality. Sometimes if it's like I've seen cell phone videos and like there's like a couple hundred people at the show and they're all like going crazy. Like sometimes it's just like seeing that you're actually doing things and like doing things live a lot. It's like very important.
Yeah. Is that Boris?
Yeah, of course. So you guys were talking about the importance of collaboration and doing it all yourself, and ideally you do that through getting to know people first. But if I want to contract out some work, like purely professionally, what are some tasks that I can pay small amounts of money to be done at a reasonable quality, but not having to necessarily have like a multi-month year relationship, just very like, I want to pay $100 to have 10 minutes of video made. Is that something that's done?
Yeah.
How would I go about finding that?
All right. Again, I'll repeat it for people in the back. What are good tasks to outsource, and how do I go about finding people to outsource tasks to?
We just had, I'm totally going to spoil this because we haven't released it, but anyway, insider information. A student actually approached Woman Crush, a videography student approached us. He wanted to make a commercial for us. And he did a really good job. And you have to know that like a lot of students need these things for their portfolio to graduate or, do well in a class and stuff. So I'd say if you are looking for something like that, maybe start there.
Yeah, I would second that. I've definitely found, interns, or I found a photography student one time to shoot video and was like, we'll do as much as we can to promote you in relation to the photography. And it was going up in an article as well, so like I was going to get him exposure for that and like as well. So like it was able to get the artist much cheaper and really good like photos. Like there's tons of people that are doing, tons of students that are doing crazy interesting stuff, and I think like it's great to be able to help them out too. So like when you go to college, it's always trying to find like who can help, like who can you work with, who can you do like cool stuff with. And I think like being able to like connect with like a college and find a video, like there's tons of art schools around here and other colleges, or people that are just interested in other things, and people that have to do school projects, and maybe that you can help them out and promote them. Like I don't know if you need an app. I'm sure there's tons of people that are doing UI design or programming that they have to do school projects and either have like a capstone thing, and maybe you could talk to them about that kind of stuff or anything. But like I've met a lot of people that through that are like found cool people that are like up and coming, and you get to help them out, but you get to also be like one of the earliest people, hopefully, for like if they do cool stuff in the future, like you get to look back and say like we worked with them, it was awesome.
Yeah. And if you're not being approached by students, as you were lucky enough to be, look for like faculty like office hours, because most people don't go to those. So they're really sitting there waiting for somebody to come in with a question, and you could be that person, and they might even be able to direct you to specific students who might be able to help you with whatever project you're working on.
Yeah, I think one that's often overlooked is data analytics. A lot of artists, they have tons of data from social media, from streaming services, but they don't know how to interpret it. So going to a college, finding a student in a data science program or a math department, and asking them to help you with your data analytics is something that you can outsource. It gives them some work experience for their resume. Maybe they'll do it for cheap if you need to pay them, or they have a project that you can outsource to them. Another thing is social media templates. So my company, we do a lot of quote posts, and we need them to stand out on social media. So we got a graphic designer to give us just 2 really sleek templates to put these quotes in, and now we can have branded content for social media that looks really nice and helps it stand out. We have a couple more minutes, so another question. I think I saw a hand.
I was just going to tag on to the university thing. The UCLA School of Music down in LA has a program for students to get into the music business, and they, if your project aligns with their curriculum, they'll take it on sometimes in order to kind of do a little teaching type of thing. So those programs do exist and work.
Nice, nice. Yeah, UCLA School of Music. If you have a project that aligns with their curriculum, they can help you out. All right. Were there any other questions? All right, cool. I'll bring it back to the panelists then. One, what's next for you and your business? And 2, where can everyone find you? So it's your chance to plug your company, say your social media, all of that. So Justin, start with you. What's next for your business? Where can people find you?
So yeah, I just finished my book, Rental Secrets. My website is rentalsecrets.net. What's next for me is actually a live presentation based on my book in San Jose. That's a little insert in the flyer that I left on all the chairs out there. And I also have a LinkedIn page as well. And I do have books here available with me for sale today too as well.
Woman Crush has quite a few things coming up. I don't know if she's here, but Crystal is our San Francisco chapter leader. The Bay Area community is very, very, very active, and she's got a lot of really cool things planned in the next couple of months. The next showcase is February 20th. I can't exactly remember where it is, but you can find all of that information on our website, which is womancrushmusic.com. Thank you very much. That's Crystal, everybody. We have a lot of other cool things going on. I don't know if any of you are from out of town, but we have a showcase during South by Southwest next month, so that should be really fun. We've got a lot of cool things going on in New York, too. We've got a 2-year anniversary gala. A lot of cool things. Please come talk to me. I have free stickers. I have these really cute Woman Crush tote bags if you would like to purchase one. Super cute. And really cute crop tops, too.
So for me, I have an artist releasing an album in May, and then basically I'm starting this thing called Soundlabs, which are live sessions for artists and stuff like that. So that's kind of a big thing. We've been shooting those like every weekend, so it's getting crazy with that. But those are stuff we're getting ready to launch a full website. If you go check out Soundlabs.com, it's there. And then for the record label, just more releases. But you can check that out at prizefighterrecords.com.
Yeah, and then for us at Noise Complaints, we have just launched a podcast. It's called Noisy Neighbors. It's on Spotify, Stitcher, wherever you find your podcasts. We interview industry professionals and artists and talk to them about things going on in the creative fields and how entrepreneurs can get involved, how artists can get involved. So our latest episode, we interviewed a local journalist to talk about journalism in the music industry in 2019, how to pitch to publications and get noticed by publications, and what infrastructure entrepreneurs can get involved with to help support local business communities. And then coming soon, we have a lot of free resources coming out. So we just put a album release guide on our website, so go check that out. It's noisecomplaintsgroup.com, and you can follow us on Instagram at noisecomplaintsgroup. So I think that is time. Thank you, everyone, thank you all the panelists for your time. Thank you, group, for your questions and for attending.